joining. Now is the time to invite the very special person in the room, none other than our special guest, as some of you have already taken his name. So I cannot hide it more. He is none other than the past district director of District 124 in India, distinguished Toastmaster Ayan Pa. I would like to take a moment to give 1 minute intro for him so that we should know him better. He is an IBM accredited IT consultant, an author, a speaker, and an educator, which is why he is here, with a passion for volunteering, who is currently employed as a GIS learning consultant, a strategic partner, and execution at IBM. He has been a member of Toastmasters International since 2010 and has served in multiple leadership roles across districts 82, District 41, District 124. Roles such as at club level, he has been 60 plus times an officer. He has been club sponsor, club mentor, club coach 40 plus times, and a district officer 10 times. With a big round of applause, please welcome a former district champion of table topics, 4 times distinguished Toastmaster, and our very own past district director of District 124, distinguished Toastmaster Ayan Pa. Woo! Ayan, you are on
Thank you
mute.
so much, Saurav. I hope you can hear me clearly and see
Yes,
my screen as well.
yes. Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So we are here to talk about how to ace speech evaluations. So let's get started, right? Because evaluation is about being there right from the front. So let me start off with a dish which I really, really like. Any guesses what dish this is? Maybe in the chat window, anyone recognizes this dish? Come on, just think about it. Let's see some of these answers. Okay,
Paneer,
paneer butter masala says Ayantika. Kavita says paneer tikka. Okay, I'm going to take a
Shahi
few more
Paneer.
names. Ritash says shahi paneer. Okay, all right. Well, you got the paneer right, which is a kind of cottage cheese. And no, it's not chicken. I think we chickened away from using that dish. It is paneer butter masala. So woohoo, whoever got that right. Some of you, Ayantika was the first one to get it right. So why are we talking about paneer butter masala and food for thought? Well, I'm going to teach you the basics of evaluation by first taking the example of paneer butter masala. However, even before we do that, I'm going to take the example of this gentleman called Bloom's. Now, Bloom's came up with a series of ways by which we can see how learning progressed. So the first stage, he says, is knowledge. Then comes comprehension. Then comes application. Then comes analysis. Then comes synthesis. And finally comes evaluation. So whenever you're trying to learn something, first there is knowledge, then comprehension, then application, then analysis, then synthesis, and finally comes evaluation. Isn't that what we are going to do here today? So let's see what that means by taking the example of paneer butter masala. So knowledge is understanding the recipe or the ingredients of paneer butter masala. What are the three main things that is required for paneer butter masala, for you to make paneer butter masala? Any guesses? Ayantika says you need paneer, you need butter, and you need masala. Absolutely right. What is happening? Of course, you are doing it like a pro. So, of course, you need paneer, which is cottage cheese. You need butter, which is just butter. And the more you have, the better. And you need masala. You need these spices to make it aromatic. So, that is knowledge. You have knowledge of the recipe. Okay. Then comes comprehension, understanding what it means. So, to make good paneer butter masala, you will have to use the ingredients in a particular format. For example, you have to take 1 tablespoon of something, 1 teaspoon of something. Now, what is the difference between a teaspoon and a tablespoon? It's not like you just take whichever is there on the tea or in the table. You have to understand that they are spoons of different sizes. Or if you have to saute the onions, what is the meaning of sauteing the onions? You have to understand. Or to make good paneer butter masala, you need curd, you need hung curd. So it's not like you're going to murder curd and say, there, you're framed. Hung curd means curd where the excess water has been drained out. So that is comprehending the true meaning of the recipe. Correct? Even cottage cheese for that matter. Cottage cheese is not cheese that is got from a cottage for that matter. It is something that has to be got in the right place and of the right variety, nice and spongy and good. So the second stage is comprehension. The third is application. Application is when you actually try making paneer butter masala. You take a pan, you take some oil, you saute the spices, you've taken the paneer already, you mix it all together, add some water, do this, do that, put it in the microwave at certain degrees, and you have paneer butter masala because you've applied how to make it. And then comes the fourth stage. Ugh, oh my God, that's too spicy. That's too oily. That's too hot. I think for a lot of people, paneer butter masala can just be too hot and you're too worried about what you're going to do the next day when you're in the washroom. So that can become very difficult. So you analyze what went wrong. Maybe you used chili powder a little too much. Maybe you should have used a kind of chili powder that you can get from India called Kashmiri chili powder, which gives the color and the flavor, but is not so spicy. Or maybe you use too much curd. Maybe there should have been less curd. Maybe it's got a little sour. Maybe the marination time was not done properly. Maybe the paneer is a little hard. That cottage cheese is not as soft as your heart. So you have tried the three stages and then you're at the fourth stage, analysis. And then comes synthesis. So what is synthesis? Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of synthesis? Or can anyone tell me what is a synthesizer used on?
Mixing of all the ingredients. Right.
Yes, very good. From a perspective of music, synthesizer is what allows you to be on song. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, or sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. You can't go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. You can't do that. It has to be in perfect order, correct? It has to be synchronized. So synthesize, when you synthesize means you have synchronized all the elements of paneer butter masala and you have the perfect paneer butter masala. Yummy. And also good for your tummy. So you have that paneer butter masala perfectly. And then, my dear friends, Toastmasters and soon to be Toastmasters, you are ready to be an evaluator, which in India is also called Kyuke Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, which means a mother-in-law was once a daughter-in-law. So you go and you have paneer butter masala and you're like, oh my God, that's too much oil. Ah, terrible. Minus. And you be like a typical Gen Z and you're like, that's Delulu who gives so much chili. I can't have that. Because you know how paneer butter masala should be. And you ensure that you give the perfect evaluation because you evaluate the entire dish by finding out what goes right and what goes wrong. So no matter what I tell you today, if you don't go out there and deliver speeches, you may still not get it right. But you have done that, I believe, which is why we are now going to finally move on from this food for thought. And I know some of you are getting hungry. So we're going to give you some real food for thought. All right. And that is starting off with this. Can anyone tell me what is going on in this picture? What do you think? No, this is not the after effects of having paneer butter masala, let me tell you. Not at all. This is about the importance of evaluation. So evaluation is the backbone of a typical Toastmasters meeting. Do you agree? Can I get some thumbs ups? Yes, we all agree. The breakfast of champions. And evaluation can make or break a Toastmasters progress. Sometimes people don't show it, but they're frustrated. Ah, what was that? Like a lot of times people evaluate and tell me, You should have stood up and delivered the speech. If I could have stood up and delivered the speech, why would I be sitting and delivering that speech? It's my choice. So people give evaluations that may not seem nice, and people may not just come back because they've seen a bad evaluation being delivered to someone else, not just to them. They're like, okay, I'm going to pay money for someone to find out faults with me. Sorry, I can do better with my money. So the importance of evaluation is not to have people feel like this. They should be green as in growth, not green as in frustration that turns you into an angry Hulk. Oh my God, I need the Avengers. No, not like that. You have to get that right. So now that we do know the importance of evaluation, and it's very basic, I'm going to talk about the benefits of evaluation. What do you do by which those light bulbs are glowing? Because isn't evaluation basically about the bulb clicking and glowing? So some of the benefits of evaluation: feedback is provided immediately and during the session itself. Methods of improvement are offered. This is a great way of helping build and maintain one's self-esteem. Like, yeah, I can do that. Knowledge comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Oh, I got that. And this is a way of applying the tell and sell approach. The evaluator talks and the speaker listens. How cool is that? So these are some of the 4 known benefits of evaluation. And now it's time to chat. What do you enjoy most about evaluations? Let's get some answers in the chat. Let's see. You can take a moment and you can post your responses. The picture is a clue, I'm hoping. The people are like happy. Yay, we are one team, one dream. We are doing this well. This is for my growth. So what do you enjoy the most about evaluation? Speaker specific feedback, very good. Suggestions for improvement, says Harriet. Indrajit says speaker specific feedback. Thank you, Indrajit. Anyone else? What do you enjoy most about evaluations that you've received, as well as evaluations you have delivered? Suggestions for improvement is obviously something we all want, but does anyone have any other ideas? How to give a tough feedback in a nice way, says DTM Saurav Tiwari. Thank you, Saurav. No wonder you have been the program quality director. Meeta M. Shah says motivation. I think evaluation is a great way to make someone feel motivated. And of course, applause as well. No matter what happens, we all applaud. So thank you for sharing these with me. And now I have a little bit more idea about what you enjoy most about evaluations. So keep asking yourself, what do I enjoy the most about evaluations? Monica Goyal says, improving listening skills while giving evaluation. Thank you, Monica. Harriet says, what you have done well and how you can, and I'm going to add to that, Harriet, how you can make it swell. So I think all of these little things are going to be good about how you evaluate someone. So good. You're already halfway there, right? You enjoy evaluation, you know about evaluation. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started as to how you can prepare yourself before an evaluation so that, like this picture, your mind is not going, oh my God, what's happening? The gears are not working. No, let the gears work. Let everything be in sync. Let us all do what we can and should. So preparing yourself before evaluation is usually something that's very simple, but something we should not miss. Number one, try to go through the speaker's project from the manual. So when you're evaluating someone in a contest, it's very different. The contest speech will be a pathways project, but you don't know what the speech is about. But when you're evaluating someone in a club, try to go through the speaker's project from the manual. Why do you think this is important? Any idea? Anyone? Kavita, I think you were
Yeah,
about
we
to
have to
speak.
just confirm before evaluating a speaker whether he is attempting on completing his objective. Probably in few cases it can be humor, in few cases it would be leadership. So the context will vary based on the speech and pathway. So we have to be thorough checking with the objective before going for the evaluation.
Very good. I think well said, Kavita. Also, because if you really see some of these projects, like there is an evaluation and feedback project in which the second speech is about incorporating the feedback received in the previous speech. So if you don't know what feedback he or she has received, it gets more difficult to evaluate them because you don't know what kind of feedback this person has received. Next, know what to look out for. Read the evaluation guide, which is exactly what Kavita was talking about. Discuss the speaker's personal goals and any specific areas for help or feedback. For example, a lot of people from the Indian subcontinent, many of us are here, we face the issue of a mother tongue influence. We have a heavy accent, maybe, that defines where we are from, which is absolutely fine. But is it something the speaker can do anything about? Maybe the speaker was working on that. Maybe the speaker was uncomfortable with body language. And in that speech, what you saw was a marked improvement. But maybe you're comparing the speaker to someone who you expect should be very good at body language. And you say, oh, your body language could have been so much better. And the speaker might feel, I already know that. I was trying to improve. Is it better than where I was? So knowing where they were and discussing the speaker's personal goals, any specific areas for help or feedback. The speaker might say, I was given this feedback in the past that I speak too fast. So can you tell me if I'm speaking better this time? So have these discussions so that you are better prepared to notice some of these points before evaluation. Of course, it's not applicable for a contest. And last but not the least, be aware of the speaker's previous feedback, strengths and weaknesses. So previous feedback I've spoken about strengths and weaknesses. So for example, if you're evaluating an icebreaker speech and someone is very good at body language and voice modulation, what would you do? You'd ideally assume the person is very, very good and you will say, wow, you are amazing. But what if the person is sort of Tiwari, DTM, and he's already delivered a lot of speeches in the past and is doing his seventh pathway level one project, maybe. So then you will evaluate them in a different manner, isn't it? Sort of, I know you'll get there. So I think there is a lot of things that happen, and you have to know where you are, where the speaker is. Is it a newbie speaker? Is it an accomplished speaker? Maybe the speaker is an accomplished professional speaker who's just joined Toastmasters. Maybe the speaker is just a college student who's for whom English is not the first language. Maybe his first language is Spanish. Maybe her first language is Mandarin, and maybe the person is really put in efforts to learn. So understand all of these things, understand the strengths and weaknesses, and you will do a great job in a club meeting. Okay. With that, let's get to ways by which those jumbled thoughts will become these bright light bulbs, ways to make the evaluation effective. And I'm going to give you tip after tip after tip, and you can tell me if that works for you. First, evaluate the speech, not the speaker. A lot of times people make the mistake of evaluating the speaker. No, it is that particular speech. Remember, this is just your opinion. Personalize the language. Don't impose. Don't say, I feel it's very important for speakers to stand up and deliver a speech. I feel it's very important for speakers to be very close to the camera. I feel it is very important for speakers to wear and display a Toastmasters pin as well as a badge, which I'm not wearing today. I don't know. It's your personal opinion. So don't impose that this should be done, that should be done. Understand, this is your opinion and your opinion matters, but your opinion is not the be all and end all in the world. Okay, remember that. Next, be supportive, promote self-esteem. Do not, and I repeat, do not please try to say something that may cause the person's self-esteem to go down. The person should feel good about himself or herself after having listened to the evaluation. Maybe it's a bad day for him or her. Maybe the speech did not go well as planned. Maybe the person misunderstood the project objectives. Possible. Be supportive. Being supportive is very important. Promote self-esteem. We will see how you can do that. Show interest. Don't chit chat. Don't blabber away to glory when the speaker is speaking. Show interest. Observe the speaker. This is more about the speaker and less about you. A lot of evaluators, especially in contests, make it all about them, as if they are having delivering this performance. Oh my God, look at me, I'm the best. Yeah, maybe you are, and maybe you want to be, but this is about the speaker. This is not about you. We have to remember that the spotlight has to be on the speaker. You have to show interest and ensure it is more about the speaker and less about you. And here are some ways by which you can do all of that, right? So here is some ideas for you to ace impromptu speaking, right? Be number one. Isn't that what we want to do in this club anyways? All right. So how do you do that? No, we or the audience felt. You have no idea what the audience has felt. It's your understanding. I personally feel that the audience absolutely enjoyed. I could hear them laughing and smiling instead of um, the audience was obviously enjoying this. We all felt very happy listening to your speech. No, we don't know if you have felt happy or not. Next, use I think or I felt. Very simple words. I think, I felt. Don't repeat a point. Do not unnecessarily belabor the point unless you're summarizing. Address the speaker more than the audience. Now, this is, of course, something that gets very iffy. A lot of people in a contest say the demo speaker today said this, the test speakers today said this. And some people get confused and they talk to the audience. So audience, did you notice what was happening? So today a speaker said this, speaker said that, etc., etc. But if you can address the speaker, say for example, if I'm evaluating Monica Goyal, all right? So today Monica had this wonderful background, and I loved the way she was absolutely prepared. She downloaded the background like most of us, and it was very, very important for me to notice that she was prepared. Compare this to audience. Did you notice that our speaker today was prepared and had a background? Isn't it amazing that many of us have a background and the speaker also had a background? So look at the tone. Am I addressing the audience or am I addressing the speaker? So if I'm addressing the speaker, Monica pays more attention. And of course, the audience also knows. So if you want to mix both, Monica, I would like to compliment you for using that background today. It's such a beautiful background and it is absolutely apt for the theme. And audience, did you notice Monica was smiling throughout? And I saw when we saw her using the background, I could see a lot of people smiling as well. So well done, Monica. That was a very cool thing to do. So here I'm involving the audience as well, okay? But I'm addressing the speaker more than the audience. All right. Next point, refrain from focusing only on content. Remember, knowledge. Knowledge is content. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. This is Bloom's taxonomy of verbs. You can just go and read that as well. So refrain from focusing only on content. A lot of people focus just on content and keep repeating the content. Oh, when you said the flowers are blooming, it was beautiful. When you said love is this, it was wonderful. You're just repeating the content. It's not just content. Don't focus just on the content. Focus a little bit more on what else. Remember, analysis is very important. No unnecessary body language. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. Ooh, you were so good. When you're talking about paneer butter masala, I was like, ooh, this is so yummy and this is good for my tummy. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. No, this is not theatrics. No unnecessary body language. I thought when you were talking about paneer butter masala, you had the right ideas. And I felt happy. See the comparison. If you're focusing too much on body language, you miss the bus. In fact, in an evaluation contest, in the judges' ballot, you don't get points for body language and voice modulation. I'm not saying don't do that. That could be a part of your technique. And that way things would be better. So let's move on to the next point. Listen carefully, watch closely. For example, I can now see that Stephen Chu Kwan, who has joined us from a different district, is probably traveling because he has this amazing view of nature. Listen carefully, watch closely. Now he's turning his camera. I can see nature is like, yay, I'm nature, I'm cool, the trees are alive. So listen carefully, watch closely. So listen for the subtle things, okay? So Jayaprakash is paying attention. What is going on? What is the speaker speaking about? What is Stephen up to? And now Stephen has switched off his camera. Listen carefully, watch closely. Indrajit is having a drink. So Indrajit is listening to the advice that was given that you should have a bottle of water and when you're thirsty for more, you should be drinking. So I could do all of these because I'm listening carefully and watching closely, right? Listening, no, because you're not speaking. Of course, sort of with his big heart is sharing a lot of hearts. So again, listen carefully, watch closely. That is something that you must do. So some more tips. Don't point out inadequacies just for the sake of it. You found nothing worth improving. And you're like, I felt that today in the speech when you were wearing this blue jacket, it was very similar to the background. Why didn't you try a brown jacket? It would have looked even better. I still remember one day I delivered a workshop and I asked, do you have any feedback? And this was during COVID-19. And the person said, yeah, the wall. I was not using a digital background. Your wall, the color, maybe it should have been different. I thought, what do you want to do? Before delivering a speech, you want me to paint my walls? I'm like, what is this? Just saying anything. It's another thing that that person later on also reads the district finals of evaluation, but definitely did not give such evaluations later. So don't point out inadequacies just for the sake of it. So I did have one evaluator once tell me this, that during the speech, I was sitting like this. I was sitting a bit on the left or right or whatever. They said, you should have been on the center of the screen. I'm like, how does it impact the speech? And I was actually sitting like that because there was a background I wanted to watch. So again, don't point out inadequacies just to get some brownie points. Try to find out real points of improvement. Don't just point out things for the sake of it. Point out only areas that the speaker has the power to change. Can you give me an example? Any of you? Area that the speaker has the power to change. Okay, Satish. Let's look at Satish right now, Satish K. So Satish K, if I'm not mistaken, is in a medical facility right now. Satish, is that right? Okay, I've got some answers. Harriet says body language. Indrajit says voice modulation. Jhansi Dash says the pace while delivering the speech. I think all of this is right. Now, if I tell Satish, I think, it's very, very important to have a very professional background. And maybe the next time you're delivering a speech about the importance of healthcare, you should deliver it from an office. Now, maybe Satish can do something about it. Maybe Satish cannot do something about it. Satish seems to be a doctor. Satish K is using all the facilities. Now, if Satish is a doctor, wouldn't it make more sense to actually deliver this from a medical facility? It'll make it more interesting, right? You're actually there. Your location then becomes a part of your speech. But all the points that you mentioned, body language, yes, you can work on your body language. Voice modulation, you can work on your voice modulation. The pace while delivering the speech, Hasi says, yes, you can work on the pace while delivering the speech. The content structure, Indrajit says, how you structure your content. You can say that I thought the speech was very good, but I personally felt you're taken too much time in setting the context, or I personally felt your summary was very brief. If you would have had something for us to take back, it would have been even better. So content structure you can speak about. Rajiv S has a very interesting point. At the same time, the background, if it could have been better, could definitely have an impact for the visibility of the speaker when it comes to online delivery. In my view, a digital background could have been a good suggestion. Very good, Rajiv. So you know that the person can have a digital background in the next meeting. So this is something the person can work about, the person can change. You can't give them things the person cannot say. For example, I really felt that, when you are wearing these glasses, it's reflecting something on the glass. It's very difficult to focus on you. I think you should go for new prescription lens. And in fact, why wear glasses? Just wear contact lens. I mean, why should you say that? Why will the person do something like that? So very absurd ideas, but if you really try to think of it, everything I'm telling you has come from somewhere. So point out only areas that the speaker has the power to change and be specific. Where exactly? So for example, Norma Johnson, okay, is now, I can see a reflection of the screen on Norma Johnson's spectacles. That's why I was talking about this. So Norma, there was this one point during the workshop in which I was talking about reflection of spectacles. And I love the way you allowed me and enabled me to take your example. And I love the way you smiled slightly when I was giving this example, which means that you're also paying attention. So Norma, thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause for Norma? Okay. Now, if after the speech, and we can do this as well, there are so many ways of applauding. If I say, Norma, I love the way when the speaker was speaking about you, you were actually smiling. Is it specific? When was she smiling? I don't know. compared to Norma. When the speaker was speaking about the reflection on the spectacles, I saw you smiling, which was so cool because your spectacles was also reflecting the screen. And I thought that was very intelligently done. Is it more specific? Yes, no, maybe. Some thumbs ups? More specific, right? Where was it? Just don't say, I thought you were speaking so quickly. I thought you were speaking so quickly towards the end of the speech because you thought you were probably going to get timed out. Maybe you should have had a shorter speech. Something like that. Sandwich method may or may not be used. What is the sandwich method? The sandwich method of evaluation is commend, recommend, commend. So you have commendations, this is what you did well. You have recommendations, this is what you could have done better. And then again, you have commendations. So that may not be used. There could be so many techniques. Come up with your own techniques. And Rajiv says something very interesting. Rajiv says, same point on spectacles from many evaluators. One of the great evaluators I heard suggested was to adjust the lighting. Thank you for bringing this point. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm telling you points that have really come up. Okay, so sandwich method may or may not be used. You may have your own technique of speaking as well, as long as you're able to understand whether you have an introduction and when you're giving the recommendations, you can sometimes people give a commendation and a recommendation. Again, a commendation and a recommendation might be difficult for the judges and others to follow. So think about what technique works best for you and watch your words. Your words are very important. Ladies and gentlemen, I found your speech to be supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and I was on cloud nine, and I thought, this speaker is mine. Oh my God, you're like wine fine. No one wants to listen to William Shakespeare or Shashi Tharoor if you're in India. Simple words that people can understand. I loved your speech, and I had a connect. I thought we were both in this together. And I loved the way you were able to analyze things together. So watch your words. Very careful with them. Do not use extreme words or phrases. I thought when you gave that example, it was disgusting. My God, how can I give that example? Compared this to, I thought your examples were a little extreme, and maybe you needn't have given such strong examples. It's sometimes difficult for the audience to relate to it. Is it a better way of saying it? Extreme words or phrases? And keep track of time. For example, can someone tell me how long I have been speaking? Because I don't see any cards. So I've been speaking for about 40 minutes, I guess, sort of.
It's 29.
How time flies. Keep track of time. Thank you, Saurav. So you need to know, because you might think you're speaking longer because I've been in the meeting longer and have not seen exactly when I started. So keep a track of time, not just because of 2 to 3 minutes, but also because you have to understand that you have to give the best. So the green card usually comes at 2 minutes. So by the time green card comes, your recommendation should ideally have started. When the yellow card comes, your recommendation should have ideally ended and your summation should have started. If you try to summarize when the red card comes, you won't be able to summarize effectively. Please understand, in a contest, a huge amount of points is for the recommendations. So recommendations are very important and don't rush through them. And if you do not have a summary, that's it. You miss all of those points. So give yourself time for commendations, recommendations, and summary. Conclude on a positive note. No matter what happens, end with something strong. So, ladies and gentlemen, you see, no matter what happens, we get to smile at the end of the day. We get to take back something that we have learned and we get to evaluate someone. And even if the paneer butter masala was not the best, I love the fact that you satiated my hunger, something like that. So some more tips, because tips and tricks are important. Discuss with the speaker after the session as well to ensure the speaker is motivated to begin his or her next project or their next project, if I want to be more inclusive from a gender perspective. A lot of times what happens is you're done with your evaluation and that's it. How many times do we go back and talk to the speaker? Hey, that was good. And there were just points I thought that you could improve upon, but I loved what you did here. I hope you're gearing up for your next speech. If you need any help, do feel free to reach out to me or, I'll be there to give you points, maybe. If not like that, well, that was good. I couldn't give you all the points, but here is the written recommendations. And this is how I marked you on a scale of 1 to 5. A lot of times we never give those points. We have to mark people on a scale of 1 to 5, right? These points are very important. It's given there in the evaluation resource, but we don't do that. Of course, in a speech contest, maybe after the contest, you can reach out to the target speaker or demo speaker, whatever you call him or her or them, and tell them, I love that speech. Thank you so much. I I hope I didn't say something that you didn't like or whatever. So that way you can give that. And learn by doing, be a better listener and a critical thinker. So who is a critical thinker? Can anyone tell me? What is the meaning of critical thinking? We all talk about critical thinking. Now, critical thinking is not thinking aimed at criticizing people. Critical thinking is a systematic way of thinking in which you're trying to analyze a critical situation and come up with recommendations to make things better. To use a proverb that I really like, don't fix it if it ain't broken. Don't give recommendations just for the sake of it to again repeat. Tell them things they can fix. And if you feel it's doing well, if the speaker is speaking well, do not give them unnecessary recommendations. Think about whether you would have liked receiving that recommendation. And when you listen for need, you can envision the future. I repeat, when you listen for need, you can envision the future and be better in terms of being a critical thinker. And one great way to do that is to observe other evaluators. Read about evaluation, the evaluation resource, visit other clubs to find out what other evaluators are doing well and include it in your evaluation. Imitation is indeed the best form of flattery, and do not let it get to you. I'm not asking you to simply copy paste from someone, but try to do it in the best possible manner. So now, time for some ideas from you all. So I'm sure all of you at some point in time, most of you have played the role of one of these. You've been a president, a VP, VPM, whatever, whatever. It may not be playing it now. So I'm going to ask you for one idea in evaluation that has really helped you. So I'm going to rotate the spinning wheel and stop. So it is exactly in the center of VP education and VP membership. So would a VP education like to share an idea? Anyone? And then a VP membership. And I think someone,
referring to any VP education in the room.
yes, anyone in the room who has been a VP education in the past or
Okay.
is currently a VP education?
I can go.
Varapana, wonderful. So let's go. By that way, I think someone was annotating on screen, so I'm just gonna clear the drawing. Yeah, now it's gone. Go on.
Yet the evaluation is very tricky. After listening to your speech, I believe I will stop giving evaluation. It's too much, frankly speaking. It's a double-edged sword where you can motivate and people will get demotivated. When I give feedback, I give 2 or 3 things, the perfect things. Your vocal variety, body language, your pacing, that's all. Things you can improve, slow down, and the content, please shorten the content. And most importantly, look in the audience in the eye contact. That's will be my thing. Top 2, top 3. Make it short and simple. That will be my takeaway.
Thank you so much, Jayaprakash. We have a huge round of applause for Jayaprakash. Radha Krishnan, who says that a great tip for him is to keep it short and simple. Of course, you have to keep it short and simple. I'm giving you lots of ideas to focus on things that you might not be doing. But yes, enjoy evaluations. I'm going to come to that in a moment. So, Jayaprakash, were you speaking as a former or current Vice President Education or Vice President Membership? Or both? I think you're speaking on mute right now.
In general, I've given my feedback.
In general, okay.
Even
Thank you
though
so
I'm
much.
a VP, but that's will be my take on the evaluation.
No problem. So the reason I'm asking is I'm going to ask someone who has been a vice president of membership to maybe offer something that they have noticed, some ideas that they have tried. Saurav, are you clapping or raising your hand? I'm not sure. Saurav, would you like to share something?
No, I was clapping. I would like to give this chance to anyone else in the room.
Okay.
Any
Anyone?
VP membership from any
I
club?
can, I can, yes, I can
Sure.
share something. So these days I have seen that speakers are using Copilot and ChatGPT more and using that content while delivering their speech, and it actually feels like an essay when they're reading out. So sometimes a more semantic relationship between your story and what you are sharing is important. So that is like more regarding the content I provide the feedback. Uh, to be as Jaya Prakash sir even said, to be crisp and clear what you are delivering. So be focused on your content. So that is
Thank
one.
you. Thank you so much, Monica, for those wonderful ideas. With that, we are going to move forward, and I'm just going to remind you to do this. Get the basics right. What's the basics? Reading. The more you read about things happening in the world, you'll have a better idea of what's going on. So I find reading newspapers to be a great thing. You can read anything. You can read blogs, you can read status messages, you can follow people. All of that will help. Listening is very, very important. Listening to not just speeches, but also great speakers, to other evaluators. Listening is the key to getting to think out of the box. In fact, thinking as if there is no box. Third, speaking seems like something that is not aligned with evaluation, but at the end of the day, you're evaluating a speaker. So when you have yourself spoken and understand the challenges, you will be able to evaluate people better. The best way to evaluate a paneer butter masala is to have cooked paneer butter masala before, to know how it is. So when you speak, you get a lot of experience and you know because you've gone through it what it is, and you will be able to evaluate people better because you've been through those situations, you understand those objectives, and you've tried putting it into practice. And finally, writing. Writing is very, very good because in a lot of times at evaluations, people take notes. You get 5 minutes to do that. And if your handwriting is not clear and if it's not legible, you can't read your own notes. I know I have faced that. But how to take notes in a subtle way, because you are taking so much notes, but you'll not be speaking about all of that. So writing can really help you, and writing can really clear your mind and can get the critical thinking to become better. So if you do all of that right, and finally, if you remember this quote by Dr. Ralph C. Smedley, you're going to be all set for evaluation. And that is, we learn in moments of enjoyment. So try to enjoy the process. If you do not enjoy the process of evaluating, it's going to be difficult for you and the speaker. And the more you enjoy, the better you will be. So with that, I will now open the stage for questions. I would request you to please ask questions if there are any. Ishita, what is your question? Thank you for raising your hand.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ayan, for this great explanation on the evaluation. I am fairly new to Toastmasters, and I always feel every time I go up on stage, I have this fear that I may offend the speaker when I give my recommendation. So that hinders me from being fully present on stage and giving my the best performance. So, what tips can you please give me to, because sometimes I feel I am not qualified enough to give the evaluation of the speaker. They may have more experience than me. So, how can I handle the situation?
Thank you so much, Ishita, for the question. And I love the fact that you're doing that. In fact, technique is also a parameter in contests. So when you're delivering your evaluation, if you follow the process I've said, and you're just not telling things for the sake of it, if you are adding value through your evaluation, and if you're saying it in that way. So even though, now this is the tricky part, even though voice modulation and body language are not measured, voice modulation and body language play a key part in how you're delivering. So, for example, Ishita, I love that question. I love the fact that you had that question. I wish you had asked the question a little earlier and not at the end. You know, that way I would have probably had a little bit more time to talk about it. Nevertheless, I think you had a great question, and maybe you can just ask it earlier the next time. Compare this with Ishita. That was a good question, but maybe you could have, asked it a little earlier and not at the end. That would have been better. So look at the way I'm delivering this. In the first way, it seems that I'm empathetic. I'm myself feeling, oh, that shouldn't have happened. So do you feel like, yes, I could do that if I say to you in the first way, Ishita? Yes.
Yes, yes,
Sympathetic, motivational, right? How are you? What is your tone? Your tone is determined by your voice modulation, by your facial expressions also. So the tone plays a very important part, Ishita. One, give points really that the person can improve upon. And number two, say it in a way by which you really mean it and you're probably feeling bad about it, and not as a way of criticizing him or her or them. And that will make all the difference, Ishita. I hope that answers your question through a
yes,
demonstration.
yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ishita. Wonderful. Anyone else? I would love to have some more questions. I think Indrajit Sinha has unmuted himself and Meeta has raised her hand.
Yeah.
Both of them. So maybe one after another. I'll take Indrajit's question first. Indrajit Sinha,
Sure.
what is your question?
I actually mentioned this in the chat. So in one of my very earlier clubs, there was this debate that who should the evaluator address, just to the speaker or to the audience? And one of the point from the people who were supporting that the evaluator should address the audience was, if the evaluator is to support address only the speaker, why are they giving the evaluation on stage? And they could just give it personally. I never had a
Absolutely
proper
correct.
answer to this question. So what?
Thank you so much for bringing this. I think there is a lot of debate about what happens. So understand as to whether you're evaluating someone in a club or you're evaluating someone in a contest, or you are evaluating someone in a physical setting, or you're evaluating someone in a virtual audience. So when you're evaluating someone in a virtual audience, you're anyway just looking at the camera. It's very difficult to address the audience as it is. Number two, evaluation is for whom? It's primarily for the speaker, correct? You're not evaluating the meeting, you're evaluating the speaker. Why are you evaluating the speaker officially? So that others can find out through that open evaluation things they can also learn. So the best technique is to address the speaker while also referring to the audience. For example, now that I'm answering this question for you, if I would have answered the question by just speaking to you, saying, I think Indrajit, that's a very good question, blah, 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 compared to, okay, everyone, wasn't that an amazing question from Indrajit? So what have you felt? Do you think we should address the audience or should we address the speaker? And then I do a poll and the audience is very happy. But Indrajit, do you feel like I'm slighting you slightly? Maybe that you asked the question. I'm not even answering that question. I'm looking at other people. So it has to be a very subtle mix of both, Indrajit Sinha. For example, do you agree that Indrajit Sinha has a great question, everyone? Yes. Can I get a thumbs up? You see, Indrajit, everyone feels it's a very important question. And I personally feel the best way to handle this is to think about what would you like if you were at the receiving end. So that's a different way of handling it, right? So Indrajit, when I evaluate someone, I do look at the speaker and I address the speaker, but I also address the audience when it comes to something that I'm referring to. So like if I'm evaluating a speech where the speaker has spoken very well and has used very good body language, I'm like, today, and it's you, maybe, Indrajit. So today, Indrajit, I love the way you use body language, especially when you asked that question, your facial expressions were good. Isn't that audience? Did you notice the way he was smiling and nodding his head? I thought that was cool, wasn't it? See, Indrajit, the audience also agrees. So that way you're involving the audience while also speaking to Indrajit. Compare this with, ladies and gentlemen, today Indrajit spoke and I thought he had great body language. I think we all agree, isn't it, that Indrajit was smiling at certain times. It felt good. Is it even addressing Indrajit at all now? So think about how it's making a difference. This is a demonstration virtually, so maybe there is no audience. But if it wasn't, Indrajit, which one would you like more? Just you or a combination or just the audience? Think about it and you'll have your answer. And now I hope that answers your question, Indrajit Sinha. Thank you so much for that thumbs up. I think Meeta also asked a question. I don't see her video turned on. And Samod has also raised his hand. Thank you so much, Samod. I don't see Meeta here. So I'm going to take Samod's question first and then Monica Goyal's question. Samod, your question, please.
Thank you so much, Ian, for the wonderful session. And my question is, sometimes when I was in a meeting of Advanced Club, Advanced Toastmasters Club, and the speaker was a veteran speaker, and I got a chance to evaluate that person. Believe me, I could not able to find any recommendations for that person. I was clueless. What should I give him the evaluation notes and the recommendation point to the evaluation? I was totally blank. So on that part, I just wanted to understand from your experience so far, what are the other criteria if someone is, let's say, veteran? What are the points that I could give him suggestion in the evaluation?
Excellent. Excellent. I think the very fact that the veteran is delivering the speech means he or she wants to look for improvement. So great way to go is a lot of times what we do is evaluators, we only evaluate them on the delivery part, on their body language and voice modulation, sometimes on the content part as well. But if you really go through this entire journey, you will understand evaluation is the final part after knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis. So the clue lies in the project and choice of project. A lot of times in pathways, we evaluate the speech, but we have to also evaluate the project. So think about the project. So if the speaker is speaking on storytelling, okay, and has delivered an excellent story, and you have nothing to say, and you felt that the story was a little complex, say, I loved your story, you delivered it very well, but if you would have had a simple story with a message, I would have remembered it more. Maybe it's your personal take on that story, but it is actually an evaluation point, because you're not evaluating the speech, you're evaluating the project, Samod. Or in a contest, in an evaluation contest, Samod, is very difficult, but everyone is going to be evaluating, right? It's noticing things that are different, noticing a smile that is out of place, noticing a gesture. Maybe the person is just doing something to the coat. Maybe he's a little playing with his hair, which is a sign of vanity. So these small nuances that others might not notice, you have to keep your ears and eyes open. 2 ears, two pairs of eyes, keep them open so that you can find something good. And if you don't, it's fine, just say, I love that speech, and my only recommendation to you is to don't just stop at this speech, but come and deliver more speeches at that club. Very bad. But if you don't have any recommendations, instead of making a fool of yourself, just tell the fact. And it has happened to be. Sometimes people have told me they have no recommendations. Sometimes people have said, I just have one recommendation. Your message could have come earlier, and so on. So maybe something I'm sure you would find out. But if you don't, it is better to not recommend than to unnecessarily recommend. And you just have to work on yourself and bring your E game up, instead of saying something silly about clothes or background or something that doesn't make sense. I hope that answers your question, Samod.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayan.
Thank you. We have two quick questions very quickly. I see Shushmita has also raised her hand, but before that, I'm going to ask Meeta. Meeta, I'm shy is here. She had raised her hand earlier. Meeta, your
Yes.
question, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask that there are so many people I have seen their evaluation. They'll start with quotes, questions, and putting the questions on the audience, and such a different way. So I just wanted to know how we'll start the evaluation when in the contest also I've seen them doing lot of
Right.
things. So I just wanted to know.
I think, Meeta, what happens is everyone is trying to bring their A game and everyone wants to do something different. It's a technique that may or may not work. Okay. So, for example, if the speech is about love, I'm just saying, so I have this quote that I use. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself, to be like a brook that sings its melody into the night, to wake up at dawn with a winged heart and say its thanks for yet another day of loving. So, what I've done is I've actually made it all about me. The speech was not about love. I've made it all about me. And in a contest, people will go like, wow, what a speaker, man. 4 times DTM, first prize, first prize. Good for me. But in a real life, maybe not so much. So you have to really look at what you're doing. Are you doing it in a contest? Do you really want to win the contest? Bring your E game out. If your quotes are aligned with the speech, yes. If not, don't. So Meeta, yes, you can use whatever works for you. These are all techniques that have worked in contests, but it should be something that you do and you do naturally, but not something that comes to you or is forced upon you because someone else is doing. So I think you'll have to find your sweet spot. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Meeta.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shushmita Shamunto has also raised her hand. Shushmita, what is your question?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Actually, currently I am facing an issue. The problem is once I went for an evaluation in other club, so the speech was really brilliant. But the problem was the speech was not fit because of project. So I gave that recommendation. But then from general evaluator, I got recommendation. I am supposed not to tell this thing because this is demotivated to speaker. And after that, I got demotivated so much that I am very scared to take an evaluation. So how to overcome this?
Okay, I have to control myself. So thank God, Shushmita, I was not your general evaluator. And your question is very similar to a question Rajiv S has asked. How would you
Yes.
tackle an evaluation of a speaker who had delivered an excellent speech, but you felt it was not a good speech at all? Like very similar situations. So Shushmita, what happens is you have to evaluate the speech, not the speaker. The speaker might be excellent, the speech might be wonderful, but is the speech aligned to the project? If it is not, you have to say, I thought you spoke very well, but I thought from the perspective of the objectives that were supposed to be met, you're such a good speaker, and I thought you could have done even better. So it's how you're saying it, right? You're saying it in a motivational way or not. Your technique has to be sympathetic or motivational and all. And I think that is something we will find out as we do speeches and we do evaluations, because this is the time now to come to my final part. We have been doing this for 100 years. Come on, let's take a break and let's thank each other. And I would like to thank you for allowing me to share some of the tips that have worked for a lot of people, starting with me. And I really hope it works for you and we are able to take this forward and implement this as speakers and evaluators in our day-to-day lives. And let's not wait for 100 years or 100 months, 100 weeks, 100 days. Let's just get started as soon as we can. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And this would be a wrap.
Thank you so much,